to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
This has been another very hard and challenging week. I've been vacillating between sadness and crying pretty much every day to rage and feelings of betrayal. Overall, I'm feeling so vulnerable that everything I feel feels a little bit more acute and raw. But amidst all of this, the one thing I knew I could count on that would make me feel better was being here with all of you tonight, as it did last week, bringing in Shabbat. Tonight, we not only gather in this sanctuary, whether you're here in this room or joining us by live stream or JBS. We're not only here, so we'll give you a wave and let you know that we know you're there. We not only are in this space, in this sanctuary, we must be sanctuary for each other. In a world that can feel very frightening, and at times when we don't feel a sense of sanctuary in exactly the places we expect it, in our workplaces, in our schools, sometimes in our circle of friends, sometimes on social media, we must make that sanctuary and create it even within ourselves. So how do we do that? The good news is Shabbat gives us a blueprint. So the first thing it instructs us to do, and this week this is more important than ever, is to be off our phones. Really be off your phones. For 24 hours, all the bad news will be there on Saturday night, waiting for you. But truly, it's actually a religious and spiritual imperative for us to take just one day in this week to seek out beauty and awe and connection and joy and calm, and not to look at your phones. Even if you're not Shabbat observant, that is my commandment to you as your rabbi today. Secondly, find fellow travelers who will bring you comfort on Shabbat. You've joined us here, that's a great start. The rest of the week, we can argue with people and give them our talking points and tell them all the things that we need to tell them, but tonight and this Shabbat, surround yourself with the people with whom you can just be and be yourself. And finally, Shabbat reminds us to bring in the light. And if we're not feeling it, then kindle the light. And that will happen tonight as well. We will sing, which will bring in more light. We will greet each other, which will bring in more light. And we will make the light of Shabbat real together. So let us be sanctuary here, within, and for each other. I'm Rabbi Angela Buchdahl, so grateful to be joined by Cantor Dan Mutlu, Rabbi Ari Lorge, Rabbi Andrew Mandel. On our bima, our president, Dr. Shani Silverberg, and Board of Trustees Ellen Oppenheim and her husband, Jeffrey. To be joined by our magnificent musicians, with gratitude to our shamashim who greeted us, to our AV team, to our operations team, communications, and really feeling the gift of our incredible security team now and always. So with gratitude for all those who make this possible, let's make that sanctuary by greeting each other, offering each other a little Shabbat light and peace.
As we take our seats, we will continue with our Shabbat service. This is a time when we need to usher in all of the light that we can find and be a light for others. For the honor of kindling our Shabbat candles, we will invite Lisa Queen, Sydney Sorkin, Valerie Lewis, and Lois Kaufman. Please join us. You can find the blessing on page 2. Shabbat is the time that we envision the world as it ought to be. And how needed is that this week? Let's let our hopes and dreams fill our collective song, starting with Lehune Ranena, found on your order of service. Let's keep spreading positive energy around the world with Zamru Ladonai, found on page 16. Our wish for rest and renewal, Shabbat, is right behind that door. We will beckon in the Shabbat Queen with Lecha Dodi, found on page 20. We will recite verses 1, 2, 5, and then we will rise in every way possible for verse 9 as we welcome Shabbat in.
דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה
שמור וזכור בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ולתפארת ולתהילה
לך דודי לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונתחה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת לקבלה
התעוררי התעוררי
בואי ושלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה.
A Shabbat where the Sabbath bride needed a little extra coaxing to get here, I have to say the vision of so many young children that are up here in front and in the balcony filling our sanctuary, really, I think you're the ones who brought Shabbat to us tonight. We continue with a call to worship, page 146.
את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
You may be seated. It's sometimes useful to zoom out to the grand cosmic cycle that includes the Earth's gentle rotation on its axis. So let's honor that eternal rhythm and the evening that it brings with Ma'ariv Aravim on page 147 in Hebrew. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, bechochma poteach she'arim, ulitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, berishmerotehen berakia kirtzono, borei yom valayla, golel or mipnei choshech, vechoshech mipnei or.
ומעביר יום ומביא לילה ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה אדוני צבאות שמו אחד וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים.
Ruth Brin writes, "To love God is to love each other, to work to make our lives better. To love God is to love the world God created and work to perfect it. To love God is to love dreams of peace and joy that illumine all of us, and to bring that vision to life."
ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol vavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta b'am b'shivtecha b'beitecha u'b'lechtecha b'derech u'b'shochbecha u'b'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha ve'ayu letotafot b'neinecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim le'Elohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I got to meet a Nobel Peace Prize winner this week, and part of his vision is to create a global interfaith initiative to cure violence. Imagine that, for everyone to have the ability to live freely and securely. It is an ancient wish that we mark each week with Mi Chamocha, found on page 152.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh norati hilot osei feleh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha neda b'kodesh norati hilot osei feleh. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai.
If you feel like you've been drowning over the past 2 weeks, drowning in pain, in news articles, in tears, in loneliness, you are invited into an ark of love. and protection called community. Hashkivenu can be found on your order of service.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim Hashkivenu Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, from sorrow and pain.
Hashkivenu
Eloheinu l'shalom V'hamidenu malkeinu
You rise in every way possible for the Amidah found on page 155.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi agi tehilatecha. Adonai, open my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Ha'nora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'konei Hakol וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, בחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים באמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
The rest of the Amidah can be found in your Siddur. If you have been storing up personal prayers to God, this would be a beautiful time to let them take wing. We are seated or standing as is our custom.
I was on a call with Israeli rabbis this week, and amidst their pain and their grief, they made a point of talking about the specific anguish of families whose loved ones are being held in captivity. I really cannot imagine the agony and the torment of having a loved one in the hands of the brutal enemy, the unbearable waiting, the fear of the worst. And how in the midst of this war, especially now, the families of the hostages feel like they are being forgotten. I also learned this week that Israelis are hearing the messages and the words and prayers that are coming out of Central Synagogue there, and it is giving them chizuk, strength. So tonight, we want to send a message to all the families of the hostages that they have not been forgotten, that we are praying and pleading for their release. The Jewish Federations of North America has launched a global solidarity campaign called Blue Ribbons for Israel. We passed them out to you as you came in. They symbolize support and solidarity for the safe return of all hostages. Hopefully, if you didn't have one on your way in, you will pick one up on your way out, and we encourage you to wear it to remember and to invite others to ask you why you're wearing it. Tonight, we're going to sing Achenu. It's found in your order of service. It is a prayer which asks for God to free our brothers and sisters in captivity. And after we finish singing this prayer, I want to invite everyone here to stand and turn around and face the camera, put your hand on your heart, and send that prayer to all our loved ones in Israel. And I promise you, this video will be sent to them, and they will know they have not been forgotten by all of us.
Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Hanetunim betzara, betzara uvashirya, haomdim ben hayam uven bayabasha. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Achenu, kol Beit Yisrael. Hanetunim betzara, betzara uvashirya, haomdim ben hayam uven bayabasha. Hamakom yerachem, yerachem aleichem, v'yotzihem mitzara, lirvacha, u'me'afela le'ora, u'mishiron yigula, hashta bagala, u'bizman karim. Hamakom yerachem, yerachem aleichem, v'yotzihem mitzara, lirvacha, u'me'afela le'ora, u'mishiron yigula, hashta bagala, u'bizman karim.
Please rise, put your hand on your heart, and let us turn to our Israeli brothers and sisters and say, we remember you.
Hashta bagala, u'bizman karim.
Please be seated. Healer of the brokenhearted, who binds our wounds, whether our pain is physical and we're battling cancer, broken limbs, or our pain is emotional and we're battling our darker thoughts, our trauma, our despair, and helplessness. Dear God, help us feel less alone. Help us find some measure of healing. Help those who are hurting in this sanctuary, out there, and across the world in Israel. Please, God, help heal us We're thinking of those in our own community who are in need of healing. Gerald Sorokin, Reuben Ben Moshe Miriam, Arlene Blatt. I invite you to name those in your circles that you're praying for healing. We add to their names the thousands who are wounded in Israel, the innocents who are hurt in that region. God, please heal them. We join together in our order of service, our prayer for healing. We know that our enemies are not just trying to destroy us, they're trying to break our spirit. But Jews are a people who choose life, and we will continue to choose life. Your presence here, you're celebrating Shabbat, you're celebrating the joys that are still existent, are a form of spiritual taking up of arms and resilience and defiance, which is what our people have always found to do. So more than ever, it's actually deeply important that we celebrate the joys, whether they're small or big, and that we are going to celebrate them with each other, multiply those joys. We are so proud and grateful that we are going to have 3 young men become bar mitzvah tomorrow, a celebration of the continuity of our Jewish people. So Jake and Henry and Max, if you'll rise with your families so we can celebrate you and rejoice with you. If you are celebrating a birthday this week or an anniversary this week and celebrating one more turn around the sun for something that you are grateful for, we invite you to please rise as we celebrate with you. If you're visiting Central Synagogue, perhaps from far away or for the first time, we invite you to rise so that we can welcome you and say, we're so glad that you're here. If you maybe took a moment and noticed the changing of the trees in Central Park or somewhere else, and you're reminded that the seasons continue to turn even as the world seems to have stopped, we invite you to rise. If you perhaps reached out to someone to give them comfort, or perhaps someone that surprised you reached out to you, I invite you to rise. And if you're grateful that actually today 2 hostages were released miraculously, a mother and daughter, Americans from Evanston, one more family can breathe tonight, and it gives us a glimmer of hope for all those who are held captive. So may we join together in this blessing of Shehechianu as we join together in the order of service.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu הזמן הזה
You remain standing as we bring our Torahs out into the community.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael Chai. 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 Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael 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 Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu Chai. Und Avinu, und Avinu, und Avinu Chai. Hallelujah, hallelujah, bekocho. Hallelujah, bekiria uzo. Hallelujah, bihikurotav. Hallelujah, berokulo. Hallelujah, betekashofar. Hallelujah, benede bechinor. Hallelujah, betofu machol. Hallelujah, bemine begav. Hallelujah, betzilzele shama. Hallelujah, betzilzele tshuva. Kol hashama te'alelia. Hallelujah, kol hashama te'alelia. Hallelujah, 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 nacho. Hallelujah, bekiria uzo. Hallelujah, bikurotav. Hallelujah, kerokulo. Hallelujah, betekashofar. Hallelujah, bezeme bechinor. Hallelujah, betofu machol. Hallelujah, bemine beyugav. Hallelujah, betzilzele shama. Hallelujah, betzilzele tshuva. Yalla la lai, yalla la la lai lai lai. Yalla lai lai, yalla la lai. Yalla la la lai lai lai. Yalla la lai lai.
Please be seated.
After 40 days and 40 nights of storm, after days more of anxiety and fear, Noah steps forth and he sends out a dove to see if a new world has emerged from the chaos. Why choose a dove? What we aren't taught as children is that since ancient days, the dove symbolized the Jewish people. And so once we know that, it really all makes sense, because after all, what is the dove's task in Noah's story? It is to take in a landscape of destruction and devastation and somehow find the courage to search for a sign of a hopeful future. And who is more adept at mustering hope than the Jewish people? And so Noah sends a dove, the symbol of the household of Israel. But then we might ask, so why? Why was the dove selected to symbolize our people? And for that we can look to the Talmud, which gives us two explanations. The passages are almost identical, but for one rather vital difference. In the first text, the Talmud says that Israel is like a dove because just as a dove is only protected by its wings, right? It's not a bird of prey. It doesn't have talons. It doesn't have a sharp beak. So just like a dove is only protected by its wings, so too Israel is only protected by mitzvot. And so here the Talmud claims that Jews only need our tradition, our commandments, our faith to protect us. But then in a second passage in the Talmud, it says something almost the same and yet completely different. There it says Israel is like a dove because just as a dove is saved by its wings, so too Israel is only saved by mitzvot. And so here our Jewish tradition doesn't protect us, it rather saves us. Left with two contradictory statements, we're forced to ask, which is true? Are we protected or are we saved by Jewish living? Because had the Talmud intended the same message, it would have used the very same word in both passages. Now, for thousands of years, our people lived believing the first statement. Just as a dove only has its wings to protect itself, so too Israel only has its mitzvot, its commandments, to protect itself. That was the view of the ancient rabbinic sages. For after fighting an impossible war against Rome, after losing our homeland, self-determination, and sovereignty, in reaction to that loss, the rabbis of the Mishnah and Talmud taught and created a Judaism devoted to peace and to pacifism. So like a dove only has its wings to protect itself, we had our tradition, we had our faith, and we prayed that that would be enough to protect us. And what we all know is that it never was. It was never enough. Like a dove among hawks, we found nowhere to rest. In every corner of Christendom, in every cleft of the caliphates, our people were abused and slaughtered. For nearly 2,000 years, Jewish life was cheap, and the world saw that it could assail us without consequences. In the late 1800s, Jews began to understand that the Talmudic claim must be wrong. Our mitzvot were a poor defense. They did not offer us protection. Perhaps Jews could no longer afford to be doves when the world proved time and again its appetite for killing our people, its sickening love of plucking doves out of the sky. And so we Zionists, we grew weary of being butchered. We spent decades rebuilding a Jewish homeland in Israel. We paved roads, we built cities, we planted forests and orchards, We created a healthcare system before we had a nation. And yes, we formed an army. And as soon as we established a nation with the hope of sitting in peace beside our neighbors, we were attacked from every side. The world forced us to beat our plowshares into swords and our pruning hooks into spears, forced the people of Israel to become doves who adopt the skills and ways of hawks. Last week, Hamas terrorists may have demonstrated that you can still slaughter Jews in our homes, but today you cannot do so with impunity. Since the founding of the State of Israel, Jews are able to defend ourselves when we are attacked. And for thousands of years, as we lived in exile, we learned that we needed to be armed with more than our faith to protect us. And thanks to Israel, we are. But because the first Talmudic passage has proven to be wrong, the second Talmudic passage has become imperative. Just as a dove is only saved by its wings, Israel is only saved by its mitzvot. In this broken world where Jews are forced to take up arms to protect ourselves, adhering to our mitzvot, to what our tradition teaches, is what has allowed us to maintain our moral stance in a world of moral confusion. We may have to adopt some of the hardest tactics of just warfare, but holding tight to our mitzvot is what saves us from losing all sense of who we are. And it saves us in two ways. First, our tradition will guide Israel in the way that it always has. We care how we conduct ourselves in a battle to defend ourselves. We will fight this war that has been forced upon us because it is unacceptable that any nation be invaded and its citizens abducted and butchered. No country can sit idly by while an apocalyptic, totalitarian, genocidal, terrorist regime works each day for the destruction of its civilians. But our mitzvot have a lot to say about how we retain our humanity while forced to fight a war not of our making. The IDF has historically worked to do what Judaism and the rules of war demands. Our tradition makes clear, even as we root out Hamas, we never emulate them. We don't exact suffering for suffering's sake. We do not seek out, nor do we celebrate the loss of civilian life. We limit civilian deaths. That is our history, and that will be our commitment still. And yet we know that despite our best efforts, warning Gazan families, begging them to flee south while Hamas does all in its power to keep them rooted where they are so that they can maintain their human shields. Despite all of these efforts and others, Palestinians have and will continue to die. And Judaism demands that each Palestinian civilian death break our hearts, even as it cannot break our resolve to protect ourselves and to secure the return of our hostages. We know that Israel will strive to make moral choices under duress while facing Hamas terrorists who have no such restraint. Reflecting on how Jews use force, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs taught that only those who are capable of feeling both the physical fear of defeat and the moral distress of victory can defend their bodies without endangering their souls. This will be our moral stance. It is how our mitzvot will save the Jewish soul in the challenging days ahead. The book of Kohelet reminds us there is a time and a season for everything. And in the long list, it includes a time for war and a time for peace. This is not the time for peace, though we wish it was. But the second way our mitzvot, our tradition, saves us in the long term is to continue Israel's posture of being ever ready to pursue peacemaking when the time for it reemerges. Our people want nothing more than to live in a world where we can sit under a vine and fig tree unafraid. We would love for the bomb shelters and the safe rooms and the iron domes under which Israelis must currently sit in order to feel just an iota of safety to become relics of our past. And so Israel pursues peace whenever we are able. And our tradition is designed to build that peaceful world, mitzvah by mitzvah, as we sing every time we put Torah away in the ark. Kol nativotehem shalom. The ways of Torah must lead us towards shalom. And so time and time again, Israel has demonstrated this resolve. We forged peace with Egypt, with Jordan, in recent years with the UAE and with Bahrain. So many times we have sought it with the Palestinians only to have it rejected. And what makes this war more devastating, as if it could be more devastating, is that we were on the verge of a new peace with Saudi Arabia, an accord that would have reshaped this region. But Hamas terrorists incited this war in part to prevent that from materializing. Because genocidal terrorists know that the only people who lose out when peace is made are those who benefit from war. And while they may have succeeded in delaying that peace, they will not succeed in preventing it and thwarting it forever. After we win this war that Hamas has forced upon us, we will be ready to once again be like that lone dove that Noah sent out to find dry land. We will continue to do what our people have done and what Israel has done. We will search for olive branches amongst the raging waters like our lives depend upon it. Because the one thing we know as Jews is that they do.
We rise together and hope for that day of peace. Our concluding prayers beginning on page 282. Oh, I'm so sorry. We have to read Torah. And it's very important to read Torah. Please be seated.
Well, we will be
Okay,
reading from
yes.
Genesis 8,
We
8 through 12.
We would like to invite up anyone for an Aliyah who either has family in Israel or family who've just returned from Israel. We actually have someone who we know made Aliyah to Israel and is actually here safely this week. So if you are in that category, I invite you to join us on the Bima.
Pretty cool.
A reminder of how connected we are as one family. Please join with me.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Va'ed. Amen. וישלח את היונה מאיתו לראות הקלו המים מעל פני האדמה בכל מוצאי. היונה מנוח לכף רגלה, ותשוב אליו אל התיבה, כי מים על פני כל הארץ, וישלח ידו ויקחיה, ויבוא אותה אליו אל התיבה. ויחל עוד 7 ימים אחרים, ויוסף שילח את היונה מן התיבה, ותבא אליו היונה לעת ערב, והנה עולת זית טרף בפיה, וידע נוח כי כלו המים מעל הארץ. ויחל עוד 7 ימים אחרים, וישלח את היונה, ולא יספה שוב אליו עוד.
I'm going to ask you to stay here, but I'm going to ask Ava Wiener to come up to the front. Ava became bat mitzvah on this bima and grew up as a child of this congregation and then chose to make Aliyot to Israel. We're so proud of her. And she is here now and is going to lead us in the prayer for the state of Israel on page 259, if you'll join along. I know you don't have the words, maybe you have your prayer book, but Ava will lead us.
O Heavenly One, Protector
And Redeemer
and
of
of Israel, please bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. Amen.
Please rise as we give honor to the Torah.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל, על פי אדוני ביד משה. עץ חיים היא למחזיקים בה, בתומכיה ואושה. דרכיה נוח, בכל נתיבותיה
We continue in our Sidurim on page 282, and we remain standing.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר ראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא.
Please be seated.
ויתקדש שמי רבה.
A reading by the Israeli poet Rachel, Meti, my dead. Only they are left me. They are faithful still, whom death's sharpest knife can no longer kill. At the turn of the highway and at the close of the day, they silently surround me. They quietly go my way. A true pact is ours, a tie time cannot dissever. Only what I have lost is what I will possess forever. We stand before this scroll of memory, which bears the names of the first 100 people murdered by Hamas, that represent the more than 1,300. We resolve to continue to learn their stories, to know their names as more and more are made known to us, and to have them silently surround us so that their memories continue forever. Tonight we remember these three: Omer Siman, age 4, Yaakovi Inon, age 78, and Avia Ganot, age 22. We remember you. We will remember all of you, and we will sanctify your names. Our community also mourns for those in our central congregation and our circles of concern who died in recent weeks. Bonnie Bezoza, Davena Hillman, Diana Koplik, Carol Pardo, Stephen Protas, Enid Rosenbaum, Stanley Rosenbaum, Suzanne Schlessel, and Phyllis Silverman. And we are marking yard sites for these dear ones: Myrtle Adelberg, Howard Alper, Lawrence Appel, Selma Appledorf, Philip Berman, Lillian R. Besunder, Hinda Block, Charlotte Borson, Leon Brody, Maynard Brody, Rose Conrad, Sonia Essebag, Arthur Fields, Jeff Freirish, May Gersh, High Gloth, Joseph Godman, Claire Gold, Alfred Goldberg, Mildred Grossfeld, Thelma Haberman, Shirley Halperin, Martin Hertz, Erwin Hochberg, Harvey Isaacs, Armand Jacobs, Celia Jaffe, Morton Kaplan, Joseph Karp, Eli Katz, Phyllis Kleinman, Robert Koss, June D. Kowaloff, Robert Lackman, Arlene Lane, Joyce Lazoff, Bess Krepistman Levine, David Levinson, Jan Levinson, Harry Lifshitz, Roberta Cohen-Litsky, Daniel Leventhal, Theodore Lynn, Mary Ann Myers, Morris Mifilif, Leonard Miller, Fanya Muskin, Jacob Muskin, David Newman, Donald Pasick, Gloria Pasick, Herbert Poster, Sylvia Richeski, Stacy Radin, Beulah Rokish, Lionel Rosef, Rosalind Rosenblum, Selma Rubin, William Sheffer, Betty Gendelman Silverstein, Noreen Starr, Murray Stupak, Richard Stuchner, Michael Teicher, Sylvia Taipin, Peter Van Berg, Marilyn Weintraub, David Werther, Frank Williams, and Jack Zeitlin. If you're in a period of Shiva, the first 7 days of mourning your loved one, we'd invite you to rise. And if you're in a period of shloshim, the first 30 days of mourning the loss of your loved one, we'd invite you to rise. If you're in Shana, the first year of mourning your loved one, we'd invite you to rise. And all who are here observing a yard site on this Shabbat, we invite you to rise. And we rise together, the whole community, in solidarity with those of the house of Israel who have died in the past several days. And we say Zichronam Livracha, and we recite these words of Kaddish Yatom together on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shnei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirtei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayetecho Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudisha berichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran be'alma v'yiru Amen. Yehei Shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yiru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, Yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yiru Amen.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Shabbat Shalom. It continues to be just so very important and so very good to be together and to be marking Shabbat together as these weeks go by. So we hope we'll continue to see you here in the sanctuary, and those of you who are joining us virtually. We want to note that next Friday we will be officially welcoming and installing Rabbi Andrew Kaplan Mandel. We are overjoyed, and we will be even more overjoyed as the week gets closer and closer. So we hope you will join us for that simcha. But now to mark other simchas, we want to say a mazel tov to our b'nei mitzvah and invite Max and Henry and Jake up to the bima. And we want to invite any other students who are under the age of b'nei mitzvah to come and join us up here for Kiddush and Motzi. And following the service, we hope you will join us for our Oneg Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav beratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron le'maaseh bereshit, ki hu yom techila le'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim. Ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava u'b'ratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Let's join in a song that reminds us that while the world can feel like a very narrow bridge, that we will walk forward and we will not be afraid. Let's do A minor if you guys do. Kol haolam kulo גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד, כל העולם כולו, גשר צר מאוד, גשר צר מאוד. On that narrow bridge and be unafraid, bringing more peace to all of you. Shabbat Shalom.